So today, we're diving into what might just be one of the most powerful, concise summaries of theology ever written. And it's all packed into just 4 short verses. We're talking about Surah Al-Ikhlas, a chapter from the Quran that lays out the very nature of God.
And that's the real question, isn't it? How can just 4 lines, 17 words total, possibly carry the weight of an entire theology? Well, let's break it down and see how every single word builds on the last to create something truly profound.
Okay, but before we even touch the verses, we have to get our heads around this one central concept, Tawhid. Now, this is way more than just the number 1. It's this radical idea of a being that is utterly singular, completely self-sufficient, and literally impossible to compare to anything else. If you can grasp this, everything else will just click into place.
All right, let's get into verse 1. What's so fascinating here is that it doesn't start with a simple description. It actually starts with a command that has been echoed by billions of people over centuries. Say, He is Allah who is one. See that? That very first word, say. That's an instruction. It immediately shifts this whole thing from being just a private, internal thought into a public, universal declaration that every believer is meant to make. And you've really got to notice the specific name being used. It doesn't just use a generic term like God. It says Allah, the personal name that is understood to contain every single attribute of perfection. We're talking mercy, justice, sovereignty, creative power. It's all packed into that one single word. And then we get this word for one, Al-Ahad. Now this, right here, is absolutely crucial. This doesn't just mean the number 1, like in a sequence. It's a very specific term that means absolute, indivisible singularity. It describes an entity that is inherently whole, something that can't be broken down into parts, partitioned, or shared in any way. To really wrap your head around this, let's put it side by side with the more common Arabic word for one, al-wahid. You see, wahid is a number. It's the start of a count, 1, then 2, then 3. But al-ahad, well, that's something else entirely. It describes a being so unique in its very essence that there is no 2. There's nothing to count 2.
So, the second verse picks up right where the first one left off. We've established this absolute oneness, and now the focus shifts to God's complete and total self-sufficiency, and His role as the ultimate refuge for all of creation. Allah, the Eternal Refuge. This one line basically defines the entire relationship between the Creator and, well, everything else. And the whole meaning pivots on this incredible term, as-samad. This word, as-samad, it has this really incredible, almost paradoxical dual meaning. On one hand, it means a being who is completely self-sufficient, permanent, needing absolutely nothing. And on the other hand, it means that He is the only one that all of creation depends on for everything it needs. Think about that for a second. Totally independent, yet the source of all dependence. And believe me, this isn't just some abstract theological point. It has huge practical implications. It means when you're going through tough times, He is the only real source of comfort. When things are going great, it keeps you humble because you know where those gifts are coming from. And importantly, it completely cuts out any need for intermediaries. The connection is direct. All right, so verse 3 takes this concept of God's uniqueness and kicks it up another notch. It zeroes in on this really human tendency we have to imagine God in our own image, especially when it comes to things like family and lineage. He neither begets nor is born. The way it's said in Arabic, lam yalid wa lam yulad, is just so powerful and decisive. It's this double negative that just slams the door shut on any other interpretation. There's just no room for misunderstanding. I mean, think about it. Birth, parents, lineage, these are the defining rules of our created world, right? They always imply a beginning, a cause, a dependency. So by flat out denying this for God, the verse just lifts Him completely out of the physical loops that define every single thing we know. And with that one line, so many human ideas about the divine just fall apart. The whole concept of gods having families and dynasties, gone. The idea of a deity having a physical body or a gender, swept aside. The notion that God could have a beginning or be caused by something else, completely refuted. It's like a purification of monotheism, stripping away any attempt to make God in our image. And that brings us to the final verse, which is like the ultimate seal on this whole declaration. It's there to close any last little loophole the human mind might try to find to make some kind of comparison.
nor is there to him any equivalent. Yeah, this is the grand finale, the mic drop, the definitive statement that leaves absolutely no room for doubt about God's total and complete uniqueness.
And the key word here is this specific Arabic term, kufu. Now, kufu means appear, an equal, a perfect match. So what the verse is saying is that there is nothing, no being, no concept, no power, not a single thing in all of existence that could ever be considered a match for God. His nature is entirely and only his own. So, you see, when you put it all together, you realize these aren't just four separate random statements. They lock into each other perfectly. They form this complete, logical, and watertight framework for understanding the nature of God. Let's call them the four pillars. Pillar 1, Al-Ahad. That establishes his absolute singularity. Pillar 2, As-Samad. That defines his absolute independence. Third, being unbegotten. That asserts his complete transcendence over all of creation. And finally, number 4, being incomparable. That just seals the deal on his unique, untouchable nature. So why does all this matter? Well, think of this framework as a kind of intellectual shield. It's not just about protecting a belief from getting watered down. It's also about fostering this deep, deep humility. It teaches you that human reason has its limits, and the right response to the divine isn't trying to define it, but rather awe and surrender. And this idea isn't a one-off. It's reinforced elsewhere in the Quran with this incredibly powerful line, "Therefore do not coin any similitudes for God. God knows and you do not know." I mean, that's about as direct as it gets, right? It's a command to stop trying to fit the infinite into our tiny, finite conceptual boxes. Which leaves us with one final big question to really chew on. If you accept that the source of all existence is a being that is truly and absolutely beyond any and all comparison, how does that change the purpose of your existence? How does that change the way you see yourself and your place in this universe?